When we think about the mounting crisis of plastic pollution, the conversation often focuses on what individuals can do: recycling more, choosing reusable bags, or cleaning up beaches. But there is an enormous, unaddressed presence in the room: the plastics manufacturers themselves. It's as if, when faced with a flooded house, we only mop up the water, never bothering to repair the leaky pipe that's causing the problem in the first place. The reality is that the entities responsible for producing hundreds of millions of tons of plastics each year are largely left out of the mainstream debate, even as they sit at the very origin of the problem. The global plastics industry is vast and powerful, valued at over $600 billion as of 2025. Approximately 390 million metric tons of plastics are produced every year, and that number is rising. China leads the pack, responsible for about 30% of global plastics production, followed by the United States, India, and the countries of the European Union. These manufacturing giants churn out everything from food packaging and water bottles to automotive parts and electronics housings, saturating nearly every aspect of modern life with plastic goods. Yet, when it comes to addressing the pollution crisis, the manufacturers themselves are rarely held to account. This disconnect was starkly evident in the recent August 2025 United Nations negotiations aimed at establishing the first legally binding global treaty to curb plastic pollution. For 3 years, representatives from around the world met to hash out an agreement, only for talks to collapse amidst deep divisions. The heart of the disagreement? Whether to impose legally enforceable limits on plastic production itself. Major oil-producing nations like the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait staunchly opposed any binding caps, instead favoring voluntary measures that focus on recycling and waste management, rather than the actual volume of plastics being produced. Their resistance is not surprising. The plastics industry is inextricably linked to the fossil fuel sector. More than 99% of plastics are derived from chemicals sourced from oil, natural gas, and coal. Restricting plastic production would directly impact these industries' bottom lines, and so, powerful lobbying and geopolitical interests converge to block meaningful change at the source. The failure of the UN treaty negotiations is a sobering reminder that, without a concerted effort to address manufacturing, attempts to stem the tide of plastic waste may amount to little more than bailing water from a sinking ship. Globally, there are thousands of plastics manufacturing companies, from massive multinational corporations to smaller regional producers. The lion's share of production is concentrated in industrialized nations: China, the United States, Germany, South Korea, and India among them. Yet, the geography of plastic pollution is more complex than production statistics alone might suggest. For instance, the United States generates an estimated 42 million tons of plastic waste each year, making it one of the world's largest contributors to plastic pollution. But nations with much lower levels of plastic production, particularly small island states and countries in the Caribbean, often exhibit the highest rates of plastic waste per capita. This is because plastic products are not only produced in one country and consumed there, they are shipped, sold, and discarded around the world, often ending up in places with insufficient waste management infrastructure. This global disconnect means that the countries suffering most from plastic pollution are not always the ones responsible for manufacturing it. Plastic waste from Europe, North America, and Asia frequently finds its way to the shores of African and Caribbean nations, or is dumped in the open, or burned in places lacking adequate disposal systems. The result is a vicious cycle where the environmental and health costs of plastic are exported to communities least equipped to bear them. Why, then, is there such reluctance to address the root of the problem? Partly, it's because the plastics industry is deeply embedded in global supply chains and economies. Plastics are cheap, durable, and versatile, qualities that have made them indispensable but also incredibly difficult to replace. Manufacturers point to the convenience, hygiene, and efficiency that plastics provide, arguing that the real problem lies in improper disposal and consumer behavior, not in the material itself. However, this argument overlooks the sheer scale of the production problem. recycling rates are abysmally low. Of all the plastic ever produced, less than 10% has been recycled. The rest has been incinerated, dumped in landfills, or leaked into the environment. Even in countries with advanced recycling systems, much of the collected plastic is either too contaminated or too low value to process economically. Given the apparent deadlock at the level of international policymaking, is there any hope for a turnaround? Surprisingly, yes, but it will require both technological innovation and a fundamental shift in how we think about plastic. One of the most promising technological developments comes from companies like Carbios, which is pioneering enzymatic recycling. Their processes can break down PET plastics, the type used in water bottles and clothing, into their original monomers, which can then be used to create new, high-quality plastics. This represents a significant improvement over traditional mechanical recycling, which degrades the quality of plastic with each cycle. Enzymatic recycling could, in theory, create a closed-loop system in which plastics are continuously reused, dramatically reducing both waste and the need for new raw materials. Beyond recycling, there is growing interest in biodegradable and compostable plastics made from plant-based sources. These materials are designed to break down more quickly in the environment, though their real-world effectiveness depends on specific conditions and robust industrial composting systems. Still, they offer a glimpse of a future in which plastic waste could be rendered far less harmful. Perhaps the most transformative idea is the adoption of circular economy principles, rethinking product design, business models, and consumption patterns so that materials are kept in use for as long as possible. This means designing products for durability, repairability, and recyclability from the outset, as well as encouraging refill, reuse, and sharing systems that drastically cut down on single-use packaging. Ultimately, the hope for a real solution lies not in blaming consumers for their littering habits, but in demanding accountability and change from the very industries that profit from producing plastics in the first place. Policymakers, businesses, and the public must work together to shift the responsibility upstream to the manufacturers whose choices ripple outward across the globe. If there is hope, it is found in the growing awareness that the plastics crisis is not just a question of waste, but of production itself. It is found in the innovators developing new technologies, in the advocates pushing for systemic change, and in the communities demanding that the world's largest polluters take responsibility for the mess they have created. Only when we fix the leak at the source, the unchecked production of plastics, will we begin to see the flood recede.